This is the Ghoul's Guide to Santa Barbara. On this very night, 10 years ago, along this same stretch of road in a dense fog just like this, I saw the worst accident I've ever seen. Say it.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, Pee-wee Herman.
Yes.
Oh.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Paul Rubens.
You're so good at the timely stuff. But
Yes.
this will be in a month and a half.
I know.
That movie was such a delight.
By the time you listen to this, the gaping wound that is my heart may have stitched itself together a tiny bit,
Oh.
but I will still be missing Paul Rubens.
I just noticed he was one of the vampire council
Council.
in What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes,
the series.
his character
I
from the
was
Buffy
watching
movie.
yesterday.
Yep.
Is that who it is?
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Oh, what? Okay. Thanks. References.
He's so good.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, as a weird kid and a still weird adult, I just am really thankful for people like him who championed the weird and gave people a place to be weird.
Didn't he have a child porn charge, though?
Okay. Are we going to do this? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'll do this. Okay. So Paul Rubens was a collector.
Of
He
child
collected no. He collected lots of things. None of them were child porn. Okay, so he collected his house was full of his collections. He loved like weird kitschy stuff.
Okay.
He collected like old oil cans or like some kind of oil or grease receptacles or something like that, like grease cans. He just he liked the typography. He liked he just liked old cool kitschy stuff. One of the things that he collected was like kind of art deco-y, like old kind of sometimes nudes, but just like those, like there were weird like muscle magazines of the like 30s that were just like super weird, which I could see like myself being like like finding one in a vintage store and being like, this is so weird. Like, I didn't realize this was like a genre back then. And then just like hoarding them, like whenever because he's obviously in places where he's collecting things and he's just coming across things. So some of them were like younger, like teen men. And so like they might have like been in their underwear or something. It was not like, if you think child porn, it was not that.
Okay.
And he basically was not home. They served a search warrant on his house and they just went in and grabbed anything that the representatives of the district attorney thought was nefarious.
Okay.
And so they latched onto these things and they grabbed all this like collection of magazines and photos and stuff like that. And his stance on it was basically like, I don't find those tittillating. I find them like interesting.
Because they're like historical.
Because they're weird and kind of
examples of publications.
And like, it's kind of like I have a ton of books on murders. It doesn't mean like murder turns me on or I'm into murder or I like murder just because you're interested in this thing and you find it interesting. And so, but he admits, he's like, the city attorney viewed it as pornography. I don't view it that way. I'm not turned on by it. But if the city attorney looks at it and says, this is bad,
attorney,
then they charge you for it. Also, so one of the things that pushed it over into the child pornography charge was a video that had actually been seized as part of a different investigation and got mixed up into his evidence in the evidence room. So it was not a video that belonged to him.
Okay.
And so later that part of it was actually dropped. So at the time he looked at it as, fine, whatever you say. If you say it was porn, it's porn. What do I have to do to just make this go away as fast as possible? Because I don't want people to view me this way. So he paid the fine, like he pleaded no contest or whatever, paid the fine, and that was it. And clearly the court of opinion and tabloids took it the same way that they did with the movie theater incident. Like, Paul Rubens was not the first person to masturbate
Right.
while watching porn. Would I personally want someone doing that next to me? He also, into it later years, I don't know when the last time he talked about it, but the last article I read, he still maintains that he did not have his penis out of his clothing. But again, the undercover cop said it happened. He can't. He's like, there's no way for me to prove. It's his word against mine. Again, I just want to get this, like, let's just wrap this up so I can move on. And that incident happened like a year after he had wrapped his show. And so they were like, oh, he's a child actor. And he's like, I mean, I'm not really a child. Like, I'm not on a children's show right now. He still is like, yeah, was it a bad choice? It was absolutely a bad choice. Like, it was a bad move. And they were like, didn't you, like, you had to have known that this was like gonna, you know, like it was potentially gonna be a really bad thing. And he's like,
famous. Yeah.
I've never really thought of him badly because of that one.
That's the only, I hadn't heard about the child porn thing.
I hadn't heard about it till he died.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. So
I'm glad I asked.
that's me defending Paul Rubens for a while. It's sad to me that, like, so many people that knew him had nothing but really great things to say. He was apparently a really great person and a great friend and very caring of people. And for me, like I said, he was somebody who made me feel like it was okay to not be quote unquote normal. And I hope that I can help pass that on to my children. And I love Pee-wee. So, yeah.
Large Marge was so terrifying when I was a
Yes,
kid.
that scared me
But
so
I
much.
watched it. I watched that part, just happened upon it on TV fairly recently, like in the last year or so. And it was like, so just the build up to it, like, oh my God, Large Marge is going to be on soon. Like, I was so wigged out. And then it was just not as scary as you remember.
And it's so, now when I look at it, it's so quintessentially Tim Burton.
Yes.
Because that was like one of his first films, if not his first major film. And yeah, like,
It's very
great
Tim
pairing.
Burton.
And it's very, like, it doesn't scare me the same way that, like, the things in Beetlejuice don't necessarily scare me as much now, but probably would have as a kid.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But yeah, I remember being really scared.
Okay. No, it was a good defense.
I hate like to do that thing where, like, I'm defending a celebrity because I don't, I don't know him, but I do feel like a lot of negative information.
That's okay. Next week you can insult Bam Margera and I will go off. So, no, I think that was great. Today, Liz is going to tell us about the Isla Vista lookalike murders.
That is right, friends.
So interested in this because I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Have either of you, did you ever live in Isla Vista?
I avoid Isla Vista as much as humanly possible.
You grew up here, so you knew to stay away. Well, when I came here to go to UCSB, I lived in Isla Vista for a couple of years.
And that's the University of California at Santa Barbara.
Yes, UCSB.
And Isla Vista is the notorious
party town.
college town surrounding UC Santa Barbara campus.
Yeah, so Isla Vista, like Jen said, is just next door to UCSB. It's in the unincorporated county near Goleta. Like all of our area, its history begins with the Chumash people being displaced from their land. And like all of our local stories, later it became ranch land. There was oil speculation, all of these things happening in that area of Isla Vista. In the 1940s, there were just a few vacation cottages built in the area. And then in 1954, the UCSB campus was actually moved there from what is now Santa Barbara City College. So then in the 60s and 70s, of course, there was a ton of growth, off-campus dorms, apartments, college housing. So this little community was springing up. And this story takes place in 1976. So
The year I was born.
yeah.
So it wasn't me.
It wasn't you. It wasn't me.
Or
it wasn't
was it?
Summers.
It definitely wasn't me or Liz. But it could have been you.
It was a different baby, hence the look-alike.
Okay.
So Jacqueline Ann Rook was a 21-year-old junior at UCSB. She was an RA, a resident
Advisor.
Thank you. At what was then the Francisco Torres dorm,
Okay.
just off campus. I Can't remember what it's called now. The name has since changed.
One of the crappy big tower ones.
Yeah, one of the big towers out there.
Did they change the name?
Yeah, it changed several years ago.
I feel like I still hear it referred to as FT.
Yeah.
I mean, people probably still call it FT, but
Exactly. She was a student teacher at San Marcos High School. She was last seen November 19th, 1976 at Stork and Hollister and reported missing the next day. It's like a big timeline story because like the way everything kind of lines up is really interesting. So then next, Marianne Saris, 19. She had only lived in IV for a few months. She worked at Jack in the Box in Goleta and a place called Happy Steak Restaurant in Santa Barbara.
Oh,
I want to go there.
So she was last seen December 6th, 1976, out near Hollister and Patterson.
streets.
Yes.
Oh, that's
The intersection of Hollister and Patterson.
literally right around the corner. Like,
Yeah.
right where we are.
Don't say that. No, it's not.
Where we are right now, but not
Yeah.
always.
She was walking home from Goleta Valley Hospital.
Oh,
So
that makes
these
sense.
two women disappear, like fairly close together, within a few weeks. And there was a January 5th, 1977 article in the Daily Nexus, your favorite
Yes.
newspaper, that reported that both of these women are still missing. The county sheriff's office believes the cases are connected, but they're out of leads. So,
Great.
yeah. So the disappearance of these two women had led to a lot of activism in IV around violence against women, advocating for better public transportation options, like between downtown and IV and Goleta. And
But they solved that all now, right?
yeah, like they were picketing outside MTD offices, and then a lot of warnings about hitchhiking because both of them were known to hitchhike, and it was just like accepted at the time.
So, like, the culture of IV was very activist at the time, right?
Yes,
Because there
very,
had just
yes.
been big.
Yeah, like
Riots
the
or
Vietnam
something in
War,
there?
and then
Yeah.
like the bank. Gosh, I don't know.
Oh,
if
yeah, they burned the bank down.
the bank was burned down in
Yeah,
IV.
it was
Yeah,
badass at the time.
yeah. So yeah, a ton of activism, and then this whole movement with violence against women and
Yeah.
these ladies disappearing. So then, 21-year-old Patricia Marie Laney, and she was a UCSB student. She volunteered at the IV Food Co-op.
Oh, yay, the co-op.
She
It
volunteered
still exists, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
She volunteered at the IV Credit Union, which, like, volunteering at a bank, I was just like, that's interesting.
I would like to volunteer at a bank right now. Let me in. I'll count all your money.
Yeah. And then at the newly established Rape Crisis Center,
Oh, yay.
which had just kind of begun. And so she was also helping to distribute posters out in the area about, raising awareness about sexual assault. So, like, she was an activist herself.
Oh, wow.
On January 18th, 1977, she had just finished rehearsing her juggling act with a friend.
Her what?
Her juggling act, my heart.
What a well-rounded and amazing lady.
And she was on her way to her mime class.
What? Oh, why isn't there a fan club
Just
or
a
a memorial?
delight. So, anyway, so she was also last seen over at the intersection of Hollister and Patterson.
Okay.
And so all three of these young women were white, had long straight hair, similar builds, similar style, and so hence the lookalike murders.
Okay.
To be fair,
Yeah. Santa Barbara in the 70s.
yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So they were also all known to hitchhike. So this murder has also been referred to as the Hitchhiker Slayer. I don't know if these names were used at the time or if they came later, but the sheriff did mention that, that they looked alike and that they were sure that they were connected. So then we travel north about a half an hour up to Solvang. And so I'm just going to bounce around a little bit. So Solvang is also known as the Danish capital of America.
Yes.
It's a little city famous for its Danish-style architecture. I believe an episode of The Simpsons takes place in Solvang.
It does. Solving Airways or something. Yes. There are so many windmills in that town that has no business having any windmills.
It's such a weird tourist
I love it.
attraction. Yeah, it's great.
I have a picture of myself in the giant shoe.
Oh, yeah.
When I was
yeah.
a kid.
Totally.
A picture of my kids in the giant shoe.
Yep, we got those. And so, of course, the history of Solvang, Chumash, Spanish colonization. But the Mission Santa Ynez was founded in 1804 in what is now Solvang. And in 1911, a group of Danish Americans purchased 9,000 acres near that mission and founded Solvang. So I read that they were wanting to escape Midwest winters.
Oh, I do not blame them.
And that's why they came out here to Solvang.
Yeah, it's always kind of interesting because it's like this quaint little Danish looking town and then a mission. Like right there on the side.
Right.
With a slice of mission.
And it's like an icky mission. Like you go in there and you're like, I don't think good things happened in here.
I mean, that's kind of all missions.
Right. Doesn't Ghost Adventures do an episode there?
Or is it La Purísima?
Oh, maybe it is La Purísima.
La Purísima is probably going to be on a different episode.
Okay. Well, anyhow, Thor Nis Christiansen. Spoiler alert, this is our murderer. He was born in 1957 in Denmark, and his family moved to the U.S. when he was 5 and eventually settled in Solvang, where his father ran a restaurant.
What restaurant?
I don't know. I didn't want to look it up. I didn't want to like...
Oh, yeah. Good call.
You know.
Yeah.
The parents
We're not blaming
are their own
the family.
Right. So all reports say that he was a smart kid, a good student until his junior year of high school when he started smoking pot and drinking and he dropped out of high school.
Okay.
He moved to Oregon for a while, but eventually came back to Santa Barbara. And at the time of our story, he was attending Santa Barbara City College and living with a girlfriend in the Elwood Beach neighborhood of Goleta, which is very close to Isla Vista or IV. So we're back in 1977. Sometime in January, and I think it was before the third victim, Patricia, disappeared. So there was graffiti. Oh, no, nope. All 3 were disappeared at this point.
Okay.
Graffiti found in a campus bathroom at UCSB that said, quote, "I killed those girls 1, 2, and 3, but you have them too fat for me. I'm looking for something a little more pretty. Beware, spider."
Amazing.
Yeah. So when this message was found, police really stepped up the search. They were like, okay, let's, keep looking for these women.
I mean, after hearing that, I want to find him too.
Yeah. So January 19th, 1977, so sometime close to when this message was found, Patricia's body was found in Refugio Canyon by a couple of hunters. And that's not quite all the way up to Solvang area, but north of here, right?
I'd probably say like 15 or 20 miles north of Santa Barbara on the coast.
Right. And then the next day, Jacqueline's body was also found in Refugio Canyon. And they had both been shot in the head.
Oh.
Yeah. So in February...
And that's 2 of the 3 that are now missing at this point?
Yeah. So in February, Thor gets cited for a minor in possession of alcohol, which is a very common citation in Isla Vista.
Yep, time-honored tradition.
Yes. And it was noted that he had a .22 caliber pistol on him, which police confiscated. But they just think he's just like some punk kid. Ugh. So then in May of the same year... Marianne Saris's body was found near Los Alamos Canyon, which is, I guess, about 45 minutes north, and she was also shot in the head. Police noted that there were sexual overtones to the crimes, and all women were found partially clothed, but they, didn't say that they were raped, but sexual overtones.
Okay.
That'll come. We'll talk about that a little more later.
Okay.
So then 2 years go by and nothing happens with this case. These women, nothing has been resolved. And then April 18th, 1979.
That would be my 3rd birthday.
Oh, yeah. 24-year-old Lydia Preston accepts a ride from a man in West Hollywood, and a few minutes later he shoots her in the ear.
Oh my God.
The ear?
Yeah.
Probably
like in the head, right?
Trying to shoot her in the head.
She's trying to shoot her in the head. And he's driving and she's in the passenger seat. So he shoots her in her left ear. She manages to jump out of his car, get help. She's taken to Cedars-Sinai. Bullets removed. She's released a few days later from the hospital.
Oh, good for her.
Oh my God.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So then on May 26th, the body of 22-year-old Laura Sue Benjamin is found near, help me with pronunciation, Big Tayunga? T-U-G.
Tahunga.
Tahunga. It's Tahunga. I didn't know if it was a Y or an H sound. Okay, Tahunga Dam. Big Tahunga Dam in Los Angeles County. And she was a black woman and reportedly a sex worker, so she didn't fit,
the lookalike
thing, but she was also shot in the head. And then
That's also a little more south.
yeah, down in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the other woman was picked up in West Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
So now we're down in LA. So on May 26th, oh no, that's the one I just said. On July 11th, 1979, early in the morning, Lydia, the woman who survived, she calls the police and says she saw the man who tried to murder her in the Bottom Line bar in Hollywood.
Oh,
So
that sounds like a quality
I
establishment.
know. I meant to look and see if it like still exists. It probably doesn't. But so the news reports said that the detectives arrested him at the bar a short time later. So like, does that mean like they came screaming over there at,
I hope
you know,
so.
1 a.m. and like arrested him?
For one.
Yeah. Or I saw another report that says he was arrested July 27th. So not 100% sure
Okay.
when exactly he was arrested. But so he goes to trial in early 1980 in LA for the murder of Laura Sue Benjamin and the attempted murder of Lydia Preston. And he pleads not guilty, but then he changes it to guilty by reason of insanity. But a psychiatrist testified that he displayed some degree of provisional planning, so he was found guilty.
So so she says, this is the guy that shot me.
Yeah.
And they connect it to this other recent one.
Sorry. So he's got a new 22, and they look up his record and see that he got this minor in possession in IV, and then like it's so similar to the IV murders. So yeah, so they put it together.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't really clarify that.
No, that's okay.
So he's found guilty, and then in May 1980, sentenced to 25 years to life for the murder of Laura Benjamin and 9 years for the attempted murder of Lydia Preston. And so at trial, the psychiatrists also testified that he suffered from an intermittent explosive disorder, paranoid personality, chronic drug use, and necrophilia.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so yeah, reports say that he did abuse the bodies after he killed the women.
Sexual overtones.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know.
Ugh.
So gross. So then later that month, the trial in Santa Barbara begins, and he surprised everyone by pleading guilty to the murder of the 3 other women, which which I'm sure was like a relief for
Yay,
family,
Thor.
Yeah.
police.
Yeah. I mean, at least they got a tiny bit of closure, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. And so then he was sentenced to life in Folsom Prison.
Yay.
Yeah. And then
Prison blues.
famous.
And then he got to watch concerts.
Johnny Cash. Well, Jen, in March of 1981, he was stabbed in the chest in the exercise yard and died.
Oh,
So
I mean, yay.
I know, right? So the killer was never identified. But just just interesting. I don't know what I'm trying to get to with this comment, so I'll delete this. But
no.
but kind of back to Patricia. So a few months after her murder, her juggling friends were asked to put on a benefit performance.
Oh,
I know. And in
Was this the beginning of Solstice?
No. In April 1976, they declared a festival in her honor.
Wait,
and-
they went back in time?
No. This is back. I'm going back. We're going back in time.
Okay, that's right. She was
an earlier one.
She was
Yeah.
the first one?
No, she was
No,
the
she was-
third one.
Okay.
The third one.
But it was
the
still
first one
in
that was
early
found.
76.
Yeah, she was the first one who was found.
Okay.
So in April, like right after, because she was found in January.
Okay.
In April, they decide to establish this festival in her memory. And that was the first Isla Vista Jugglers Festival, which just celebrated its 47th annual event in April of this year.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's still going on, celebrating this woman, this delightful girl who was a juggler and a mime and had her whole life ahead of her.
If anything comes out of this episode, it's that I am like 1% more likely to
Attend that.
attend the juggling festival now that I know that it honors.
And it also benefits the Rape Crisis Center every year.
I did not know
Yeah.
that either.
I didn't either. So
They should put that on their flyer.
I know. This should all be.
I'm kidding. They probably do. I apologize to the juggling festival.
It probably is on there. But anyway, that is the story.
You guys have great intentions.
Isla Vista Juggling.
You don't know. You don't know if they do.
Well, you started out that way.
Yeah, it started with that for
Yeah.
sure. But that's the story of the Isla Vista lookalike murders.
Wow.
I never heard about that.
Me neither.
I have to say, okay, so I have heard this one before. I think Paul Holes told it at
really?
My Favorite Murder weekend thing.
Oh, I'm
Or
sure I listened to that,
maybe
but
the
I
other
don't
guy that was
remember.
with him. But they didn't talk about the victims as much. And I really like that you focused on that.
Yeah. And Thor, like, there were, of course, all these things, like his live-in girlfriend was like, he was just a very, very nice, kind man. And like neighbors were just, he was a normal dude, normal, friendly guy. But
That's what they always say.
Exactly. Like every...
And intermittent explosive disorder does not, I mean, he yelled at her. Like,
Yeah.
he's gotta
Right.
live. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
But that's my story for today.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and that made me like Isla Vista a little more. So I went to
Not me.
UCSB also. It's okay. And a lot of my friends lived in Isla Vista, but my dad worked for the university. And so every year we'd have like a reader of articles that we had to read for classes. And my dad would put me in the car and we'd drive through Isla Vista and he'd be like, get out. And then I'd go in and get my reader, and then he'd be like, "I'll be driving," and then I'd have to
At the
get
Ivy
the reader.
bookstore.
Yeah, and then I'd have to like get the reader and go stand on the. So he just would not stop in
Oh
Isla
my
Vista.
gosh.
It's just like because it's just a nightmare.
It's hectic.
It's just so many bikes and everything.
Yeah.
And, like so he'd just circle the block, and I'd have to jump back into
Oh
the
my
car.
gosh, I love that.
But
I lived there. It
last
was wild
time-
times.
Yeah, last time I was out there, we went out there kind of recently because a friend who went to UCSB was in town for a couple days, and like for nostalgia's sake, she wanted to go out and get Freebirds burritos.
Yeah.
And I went out there and I was like, gosh, it seems a lot calmer
Oh,
than
summer.
And I was like, oh, it's the middle of summer.
Summer
and it's
in
like,
Ivy is...
It was like 9:00 at night in the middle of
Yeah.
summer.
It's a I mean, I don't know if delight might be a strong word, but
The
like,
delight is a stretch.
but I definitely enjoyed it during the summertime.
Yeah, me too.
More than during the school year.
Yeah.
yeah, I have a lot of respect for like slightly oldish, like activist Isla Vista. I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Now it's just like fancy hotel living for kids, and
I know.
so expensive.
So
and
Yeah.
terrible.
In between that, it was like just a weird soup of frat, just drunkenness.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's on a lot of those lists of like top party towns.
Yeah.
Oh, I think at one point it was like rated as the highest rate of sexually transmitted diseases.
Oh god,
Oh, I
that's
bet.
horrifying.
I bet.
Yeah, so
Have I said
yay,
this?
guys, for that.
I know.
Oh.
The one
Not
time
guys,
I went
but
into
just
like
all of them
a
as
Greek
a whole.
building. The one time I went into a sorority in Isla Vista, I was studying for a test
Uh-huh.
in my vampire literature class at UCSB with a couple of sorority girls, and a frat guy just dropped by and gave us the test.
Oh, you've told me this
my
before.
It was insane to me, and I was like, "Do you have all the tests for all your classes?" And they were like, "Oh, most of them."
Oh,
Like, I actually studied, but I mean, I did really well on that test, so it was fine.
I feel like
ugh.
that same situation happened in one of the like teen shows that I just was watching.
I'm a trailblazer.
I went. I only ever ventured to Isla Vista occasionally to see bands.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
My brother and I went to see the Boo Radleys.
There are a lot of
90s.
good punk shows too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Like in apartments.
multiple ska bands in the late 90s.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Steve
a long time
Aoki
ago.
lived in Isla Vista.
Yep. Yeah. Jack Johnson
My husband
lived in Isla Vista.
did not live there, but went there in
One of
his
my-
youth.
Oh.
One of my closest friends, who I will not name, has a minor in possession from
Oh yeah.
going to an Ivy party when she was in high school.
I never got one, but
Yeah, me either, but
I know. I'd love to hear
Some of
the
my friends
stories
did.
from like the people that like the people that live in that are now I don't want to like say boomers, but
But
like
the older
boomers,
people that still live
yeah,
there.
the people that lived there in the 70s during that wild activist time
I thought you
that are
meant
now just like working at a bank in downtown.
right. I thought you meant people like our age, adults that live there currently, because that's a thing too.
Yeah,
like families live there.
Oh yeah.
My professor, I don't know if I can say it, Professor Lindemann from UCSB, he said that he was on some kind of FBI list or something because of the bank thing.
Whoa.
And he was like, it didn't like burn it down though, so, or anything. I don't know. He was an excellent history professor.
Cool.
Yeah.
Possession of a torch.
No, he wasn't involved at all, but like he just existed.
He was on the
and
watch list.
I think what it was that he existed as a human who had progressive political views, you know.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah. At that time, my mother lived in Isla Vista too.
Oh, wow.
We know that she made stuff up, but she said that she had to go like hide in a field or something like during the bank burning stuff because it was like a riot basically,
Right.
I think. But you know, she might have.
Maybe we'll have to do an episode
Exaggerated a
on
little.
that.
We'll
I
give her
think
credit
so,
for that
yeah.
one. There were no feral children involved. It was fine.
Oh man.
Oh, well, that was awesome.
We should
Thanks.
rename this Santa Barbara's Rich Tapestry.
Totally.
So we should probably ask a question of the Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah. Let's do
Yes,
it.
we should.
Um,
Did my mom hide in that field?
Good one.
There you go.
Okay. I can't even read it. This 8 ball is so cloudy.
The text is just so tiny.
Maybe
Here,
we
let me
should
see.
get a new 8 Ball.
There's got to be an online one. My sources say no.
I told you. I was going to give it to her. Thank you, 8 ball. I'm going to stay strong in my disdain of her stories. Oh, all right. It's the end of our recording session, and I, again, worked all day, and I'm tired because I'm a milk
Past our
toast.
bedtime at this point.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
know. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Ghoul's Guide to Santa Barbara. Like and subscribe on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ghoul's Guide to SB.
Our website is ghoulsguidetosb.com. Got a spooky story or know of a haunted or paranormal location in Santa Barbara? Send it to us at ghoulsguidetosb@gmail.com.